Now this is the picture I did roughly a few years ago, probably on site, and as you can see, it's not very detailed, but it was just a plain white house. So something like this, it's very good for contrast, for tonal values. Yes, we do have some trees in the background, and a hedge and some grass, which add it adds very good tonal contrasts to the white house, light against dark, dark against light. And something like this is just very enjoyable to do while you're sitting outside because it hasn't got the detail. Not a picture to do anything serious with, it's just a fun picture, that's all. So, as I said, this was done outside. I'm going to recreate this in the same style as I would when I actually did this picture outside, just so you can see the type of thing I do. Now, the paper I'm going to paint this on is Fabriano 1264 A4 300 grams watercolor paper. It's got 25% cotton, so it's the paper is only it's I wouldn't say it's good, I wouldn't say it's bad, it's just very average. It's very hard sized, so it does sort of resist water quite well. But once you get used to that little foible, it's actually not too bad to work on. And this is the book, because it is very inexpensive. This is the book of watercolor. When I take watercolor paper out with me, this is what I take out, because I can do just very simple sketches. I can mess around, and I'm not worrying about taking out something like ash, or anything like 100% cotton rag, where you'd be so scared of actually doing things because it's expensive, especially just when you're having a bit of fun outside. So this paper is perfect. So when I'm outside doing things on location, I will always use a fountain pen because they're just so versatile. For this picture, I'm going to be using the Duke 551 Fude Confucius fountain pen. Now, this wasn't drawn with this pen. I didn't have this then. I used the Lamy Safari for this, but because I don't really use this pen often, I think it'll be a very good exercise to draw something like this and try to get nice expressive lines. Now, to start this, I'm not actually going to use I'm not going to pencil sketch it in. It's usually, if I'm outside on location, I will just basically scribble. It's not meant to be a work of art, so I will just scribble it. So anything like this, I would always start at the very tip on this of the roof, and I'll just work my way downwards. It just, for me, it seems more sensible. So when I'm outside, I'm not really looking for lines or sharp lines, neat lines, because this type of thing is more like a sketch. I'll just make a line there. I'll just make a line, it's just so I know where to actually leave these lines, or where to stop. Now, also, when I'm doing this type of thing outside, I'm not really interested in absolute accuracy. Apart from this bit, because this is now an angle, so we've got to get this angle correct. Something like that. So it's just going to be a very simple sketch from now on with the Fude pen. I'm using the pen on its tip. I'm using the pen upside down, so you get an even thinner line. I'm not being particularly careful in the drawing because this is what I would do out of doors on site, doing play and drawing. It's just to get the very basics in, the essentials. Now you can see I'm using the pen upside down now, and you can get some finer lines just for those finer details, those smaller areas. You don't really need to take a plethora of pens out, even though I do. I don't necessarily use all of them at the same time. Now this is a Pentel brush pen. Very, very handy in your arsenal because it's got the a long, thick brush. It's very, very flexible, and as this is a high contrast picture, and I just want to get the details, sort the details in very, very quickly because I will be outside. Something like this is perfect, and it gets very, very blacking. This is just the ink I used in the fountain pen. Now to get the trees in, this is just black India ink. I usually have a small bottle for things like this, and it's just a small brush, and I'm just basically painting in very, very roughly the shape of a tree. Now you can see how the dark tree stands up against the white side of the house. Now this is just a tonal value tree really, as we will have detail over it. They're drawn in with the pen, of course. And on the right hand side we have the other tree, but that is of course more in the distance, so it has to be fainter. So it's the same ink, but I've just put some of the ink in the paper, and then I've just dropped some water on, and I just pull it out, so it's naturally diluted, and of course it makes it in the distance, or look in the distance. And we do not want detail. And it's the same thing with the hedge, but the hedge can be a bit darker because it's in the foreground, and this is against a large portion of the white side of the house. And again, this is the same thing, just some of the ink and wiped around with a bit of water. Now I'm using the Full Day pen again, and this is the Full Day nib. This is the beauty of this Duke. It's very thick. This is the nib, and you can get very dark lines very, very easily. And yet if you use it upside down, you can get very, very fine lines like this, for example, this trellis on the wall. Now for a bit of shading, a bit of shadow, the easiest way is just a brush and a little bit of ink. And also we'll use the same brush, the same ink, just to darken that tree up, just to make sure that it is much darker than the tree in the background on the right hand side. And again, exactly the same thing with the hedge, because of course the hedge is in the foreground. Now if you look at the picture, we have details, or the scribbles, to form the detailing in the trees and the hedge, to make it look like a hedge and not just a splodgy mess as it is now. So again, I'm going to use the Full Day nib, and I'm using it on the very tip of the nib, so you get the thinnest line in its correct orientation, and I'm just basically doing little scribbles. It's nothing really, but on the bottom I'm drawing some parallel lines and then putting ink between these lines. So I'm doing negative drawing. These are going to be the beginnings of tree trunks at the base of the tree. Again, dark against light, light against dark. Now I can afford to be a little bit more darker at the bottom and thinner at the top. And I just go around trying to make the tree look a little bit like it's got foliage in. Now I don't want to do all of the tree, of course. I want to leave some of it more bare, otherwise it's just going to be a big black scribbly mess. And I'm not copying the picture, the example picture. I'm just looking at this picture here, this tree here. I'm just trying to figure out what or where the dark marks are going to be more suitable. What's going to look nice. And the foliage, the hedge is in exactly the same procedure, but because it's a hedge, the texture is much tighter, much more smaller. So it's just a matter of scale. But I am using the pen upside down to get the thinnest possible line. But you can see it is just basically scribbles. It's like forging someone's signature if you ever want to do that. But it is just really you're scribbling a mess on it. But it looks like foliage. It looks like leaves in hedgerows. Now in this section I'm using the Pentel brush pen again, and I'm just really darkening in some of the base of the trees where you're looking in the darkest areas, and that's going to allow the tree trunks, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them there, to stand out a little bit better. And also around the edge here, so the white house stands out against that dark background. You've got to watch what you're doing here because you don't want to overdo it. Now I'm just, for the grass, I'm putting extra tone by just wiping some clean water on the paper, and then with the pentel just streaking it across, and because it's wet on paper and ink, it'll do what it's doing, as you can see. And this is just a clean brush, just to smear it out a little bit so it's not too harsh. Now for the window panes, I'm just using a Signo Unipin white ballpoint gel type pen. They're very, very good. Just fit in your outdoor pack. It saves using ink, and they work very, very well as long as you've got something pretty dark to actually draw on. Now I did do some splattering here, but the camera wasn't rolling, so I'm doing a bit more. I'm just dipping a steel nibbed dipping pen into the ink and then using it the wrong way and flicking it to see if it can get some splatter, which you can see on the tree on the right hand side. This is the same thing but white ink, and you can see how it splatters up and gives up some amazing bits of texture. And again, this is light on dark. So this is the picture finished, and as you can see, it's quite textured. It's not a neat picture because this is exactly how I would do something out of doors quickly to get splattering in, to get texture, to get as much atmosphere as possible. And remembering that something like this I wouldn't actually, probably wouldn't actually use as a serious piece later on in the studio. Something like this would be just a good bit of fun outside to enjoy the experience of plein air drawing, plein air painting. So all of the splatter, all of the mess around here, the little bits of splatter onto the house, that really doesn't bother me. That just shows I've had a good time. But what's more important is that I've observed tonal values. We've got some very much distant trees here, very, very pale. We've got a splatter tree here, no foliage. It could be a dead tree, but it's very, very black, very dark against the light. We have the hedge and the little tree here. We've got dark against the light. We've got black windows with some white frames against the light. Same with the chimney pots. We have the trees, or mid-distant trees here. The darker in tone than the background trees to bring them forward, but still you've got the light of the white light of the house on this side against the dark of the trees. So light against dark, dark against light always. And that's what's more important for me if I'm doing anything outside. It doesn't matter about how messy it is, as long as you've got the separation, because you're using just black and white, good high contrast tones, and everything stands out, and everything of course is within its proper place in the distance. Now if you enjoyed this little demonstration and you'd like to see some more, then please subscribe. If you haven't, please leave a comment, and as ever, until next week, I'll see you then. So goodbye.